Sylma is coming to War of the Visions. She is a free unit just like Grace a short while back, and she's an MR Lightning Element Red Mage that we'll be able to get all the shards for all the way to level 120. So today we'll explore her kit, whether she's worth building or not, stat comparison with other units, and possible team compositions that we can run her into. So let's dive into it. First, let's look at her stats. Sylma is a all-rounder in terms of stats. She has middling HP. Without buffs, she'll probably go down whenever she gets hit. But in exchange for that, at level 120, she has really high magic. Like, that's slightly below Yuna, but it's still very, very high. And then she's incredibly fast at 67 base agility. So she's a unit that's very quick, can deal a lot of damage, and can potentially take a hit. I'd say she's on the verge between a unit that gets one shot and takes one attack from an enemy before going down. She has positive resistances to slashing, missile, and magic, so she could possibly work well into resistance builds. And then she can also increase resistances herself, as we'll talk about later. She has move 3, jump 2, but she can increase those to move 4, jump 3 in the Kotodama subjob, so that's pretty good. And then as a red mage, she uses swords and equips clothes and accessory. She is resistant to charm, which is another really big plus. Now, what does she provide in a team? Well, she's a red mage, so she can heal and she can deal magic damage. But what she also has with her EX job that's pretty unique are great buffs. So she's a very, very powerful support with the ability to do damage and heal if necessary. I think she will especially shine in manual play where cost is limited, because you'll now have a 120 MR unit that can deal serious damage, but also use the right buffs at the right time. And then you can leverage the fact that she's immune to charm in other nice ways and use her movement abilities if necessary. So overall, she'll be great in manual play and very good in auto play as well. Now, in terms of passives, I think you'll always want the Mage Blessing on her. That will increase her magic resistance by another 15%, so she will now have 25%. But with the EX upgrade, she also gets 12% more agility. She was already pretty damn fast, so with that, she will be among the fastest characters in your team in almost every scenario. Then the other buff you put on her depends on what you're going to fight. Against magic teams, I would probably use the Blessing of Water Spirit to increase her spirit even higher. But if you're going for a damage build, you could run the extra magic up. Really, I think they're all pretty good depending on the matchup. Also, if you want to focus on her buffs and on her supportive side a little bit more, Emerald Echo is a great passive as well. So lots of potential here. You'll have to mix and match depending on how your team is set up. The counter abilities might not be that important considering she'll get one shot most of the time, I think. So you probably want one of those that reduce damage. If you're fighting a whole setup of mages, definitely take Magic Reflex. But if you're fighting a hybrid team or a physical team, then the Ephemeral Steel Form, I think, from the Kotodama Wielder job will be a much better counter. This spell counter, it's going to proc after you take the damage, and you'll probably be dead at that point, so I don't think it'll be useful very often. Now on to her main job, and that's where she really gets a strong kit. We have the typical red mage stuff. She'll have Tandaga, Cura, Jamming Thrust, which is the super high-powered single target attack that also cancels ability activation. And then she has some more supportive side to her if you get her to EX job. And I think as a non-EX unit, she's okay. She'll be a typical red mage. But when you get her to EX job, that's where she really gets powerful support abilities. And if you want to leverage her, you really need to get her there. She'll have a lot more magic to work with, so she will have actual good damage, and then she'll also have great supportive abilities. As 99, not that exciting. But when you get all the way to 120 or 115, that's where she's really good. So, fast cast. Normally, you target a character and you reduce their casting time, but now her fast cast will also increase defense for 3 turns. So not only is that going to be great on mages, but you can also use it on non-mages, because 20 defense is worth casting in of itself, even if you're not giving the cast time reduction. Now, you might not want that if you're running 9S or somebody else who can buff defense in an AoE, but outside of that, if you don't have anybody that can give defense in your team, it's a really good ability. Then she has the typical resistance break, which she uses a piercing attack that's physical scaling, so it will do really low damage, but decrease spirit. So could be good, could be bad, depends on the matchup. And then her level 120 ability is really interesting. Just like the double resist from the Nightblade subjob, she will increase slash and missile resistance in an AoE. And we've seen a lot of pierce and missile or other resistances, but slash and missile is a unique combination. We haven't seen that one before. So we now have a brand new double resist type move that gives both slash and missile res. And that's going really well with the fact that she already has some pretty decent resistances. She has 5% slash and missile resist. So with this, she herself goes to 30%. But if you pair her with characters with high innate slash and missile resistance, they will be that much more resistant. So yeah, just a very strong buff against the right enemies. Then Red Mage subjob, really disappointing. Unless you need Izuna, you will be running her other subjobs, which are way better. Her first subjob, which I think you'll run 90% of the time, is the Kotodama Wielder. First of all, that can get her movement to 4 and jump 3. That's crazy, you need that. Then she gets a guaranteed hit ability. Wow, she can now fight evade teams. Then she can inflict confusion. Meh, she's got an attack and move, which is good because it's an instant move, but you'll probably want her to stay in a safe position and use jamming thrust instead. She can also hit and potentially stun, which could be good. And then she can fight mage characters much better because she has access to a 50% magic barriers for 3 times. She's really shaping up to be a powerful unit looking at all those tools that she has. As a green mage, she could increase lightning resistance, use Ruin, Deprotect, Deshell, or Vitalize to give more agility. More agility. But overall, this is not worth using, I think, compared to all you're getting from the Kotodama job, which is one of the best magic jobs in the game right now. So I would definitely use her as a red mage with Kotodama sub, and I think that's where you'll get the best performance out of her. Now, if you get her to 99, I think, first of all, every player should get her to 99, because she is free and really good. But outside of that, you'll also get her TMR, which is a really good tool. It's a sword with okay-ish attack and magic values, nothing great there. So your character will not deal a ton of damage if they have this equipped. But it is now a sword in the TMR slot that increases slash resistance by 8%. That means for your resistance builds, you can have characters with 3 pieces of gear that provide good resistances much more easily, and then still have okay-ish damage. I would definitely put that on Whisper for slash resistance builds, but maybe even on King Mont if you don't care about the damage he does. So it's a nice tool, and I think there will be many scenarios where it's the best sword for one of your units, especially if you're putting it on a character that's more of a tank or a support, and on whose damage you don't rely on. So you can afford to lose that extra damage in exchange for survivability. Now, in terms of stats, of course, she's an MR unit, right? She can't possibly compare to UR units at 120, except she kinda can. Compared to Yuna, she has almost the same amount of HP, only 200 less, and then she has 30 less magic, so she's very close, and she's making up for those differences with a higher agility and a higher dexterity and luck. And then she has way more attack, but that probably won't be very relevant. So she has almost UR stats. And then if we take a look at Miranda, who's only at 99, she just kicks her out of the park completely. More HP, more magic, more agility, more of everything, basically. So yeah, she will be much better at level 120 than the other red mage options in the game right now, even at 99. That is, unless you're running Miranda for Quicken specifically, which is not even a red mage ability. So what are some team comps that you could do with her? Well, first of all, she has the unique capability to increase slash and missile resistance. So you could run her with resistance tanks. Whisper is one of them, but King Mont can also be built as a pretty impressive resistance tank. And then you use your third slot for a damage dealer that's going to stay in a safe position and deal a lot of damage. And that will be a very strong team. You could also run her in a, I guess, Mono Lightning team with 9S. She'll be able to increase 9S's resistances, making him that much harder to kill, and then support him with high damage attacks. And you could use somebody like Nivlu to break enemy barriers, slow them, dispel their buffs, or just any other character in the third slot to provide damage support. I would also see her work really well with Rain, and we're getting EX Rain, right? So he's going to be a really strong magic tank. So against magical teams, you could use Rain as your primary tank, and now Sylma will be making Rain more tanky against physical attacks. So if there's 2 mages and 1 physical attacker on the enemy team, that build might still work because she'll increase his defense and his resistances, and then he'll go in with hate and tank for a while. And then you could use somebody like Garvel to provide more jamming thrust action and even more damage to your team. So overall, do I recommend her? Well, she's a red mage with high mobility that can heal, do damage, support, she's in a strong element, you get her shards for free, and her design is really cool. Yes, I think everybody should get her to 99, and then anybody who wants to afford spending blossoms for MR units definitely should. I know I will. And for selection quests, eventually she'll be great, but I've seen a lot of footage on the JP side where she competes in arena and in PvP game modes and is actually a powerhouse. So I think she's worth building for everybody, honestly. I know, like I said, I'll have her built in a pretty short amount of time after she's released. So that was it, guys. Hopefully you liked it and learned a thing or two. Are you guys going to build her? And if so, yes. If not, why not? Right? I'm curious to know the train of thought for players here. So if you've enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. It will make it more likely that you see my content in the future. And then as always, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.